What's up, Epic 7? We're going to take a little trip down memory lane, Book of Memories that is. This video was requested by a member of my chat who asked if I ever made a tier list or guide recommending what Book of Memories episodes were worth unlocking. So we're going to jump in and take a look at all of the different special side stories you can unlock through Book of Memories. And you got to ask yourself, would you spend $30 on this? Because this costs 900 skystones to buy the keys to unlock a Book of Memories story. And 900 skystones may not feel like a lot, but in Smilegate money, 900 skystones is roughly $30. Now, I'm not saying you're going to spend 30 bucks just to unlock these stories, but that is the equivalent value of a Book of Memories key. So that's kind of the value I attach to it. Are these worth $30? So let's take a look at them one by one, discuss the rewards, and where we would put them on a tier list. So first we're going to talk about Reingar's Chaotic Full Moon Festival. This is a pretty fun story featuring Yuna and Basar, and in this story you get one of, if not the, most valuable, most important 4-star artifacts in the game, Midnight Bloom. You'll get enough copies to take this to level 30. You can also choose to keep 2 of them if you want to optimize multiple teams. I personally have 2 of them. I don't think it's necessary. 1 is enough to meet most of your needs, but this artifact will give you up to 16% crit chance for every single member on your team, even the person wearing the artifact. That makes this the highest gear score artifact in the game, and it makes the impossible possible for a lot of players. This will let you min-max a lot of PvE, including some high-end stuff like Wyvern 13, 100% one-shots, and some Abyss floors. So this is an artifact you want, and this alone I think is worth 900 skystones. Also in here, you'll be able to pick up the Otherworldly Machine artifact. It's kind of best in slot for Yuna for the limited number of uses she has, and it can also be used on units like Seaside Bologna, and of course Kikirat, one of the only monsters, I guess, robots in the game that you get to have as a playable character. Not a ton of uses for him, but he is a fun unit to have. The other free artifact, the Forbidden Text, is not that big of a deal. Really, let's be frank, the reason you're doing Reingar's Chaotic Full Moon Festival is the Midnight Bloom artifact and not much else. The Midnight Bloom artifact isn't required to play the game, but it makes the game so easy that I'm going to put the Reingar's Chaotic Full Moon Festival up here in the A tier. It's one of the best side stories to unlock, in my opinion. Next, we're going to move down to Eulogy for a Saint. Eulogy for a Saint, featuring Dien and Basque, is the story of Epic 6.5, right? Epic 7 has just begun. Ross, the archdemon, is stalking the world, wreaking havoc, and for the first time in known history, Ross has not awakened. You see, Dishe wipes everybody's minds when she recreates the world, so nobody has ever known Ross to not show up and defeat the archdemon. Hundreds, maybe thousands of times Ross has defeated the archdemon, but here we are with Ross sleeping, and this is the story of all about how the humans stop the destruction of the archdemon before Ross wakes up. This story leads right up to the point where Ross finally awakens, and that's where your story begins when you begin playing the game. It's a wonderful prologue to the story. It's very, very well written, which for Epic 7 is a pretty high bar to clear. And this is the story that was so good, so compelling, so enjoyable that this is the story I think that made most people back in 2018 want an anime out of this game. But should you go ahead and do this? I mean, what rewards do you get from this? Well, you get Basque, who back in early 2019 was probably the best Wyvern 13 knight. That's not really the case anymore. He's a collector's item. And you can get these Resolute Soldier series, which will increase your defense and effectiveness by a whopping 5%. Yeah, this is all garbage. Why would you ever want to do this? Well, there's one reason that you're going to want to spend 900 skystones, above and beyond the fact that it's an amazing story. This is where you can farm gold and charms at a higher rate than any other place in the game. I'm talking about comparing this to Unrecorded History, the former best place to farm gold and charms. This gives you about 20% more gold. This gives you almost double the amount of charms that you get from drops in Unrecorded History. This is easily farmable with just 1 unit, allowing you to friendship farm 3 units at a time. You want to have this story unlocked. More than any other story in the game currently, this one is worth 900 skystones, and this is very important. Do not complete this story. When you complete a story, it locks you out and you can't go back in. And you want to be able to go back in to farm these stages to get the rewards. So even though it says all quests were cleared, resist clicking on this button. Certainly resist clicking on this button. And the reason is if you click on this button, it'll put a click here to complete the story button over here, and your button pushing compulsion will kick in. You'll click that button and boom. You can never go back in. And no matter how many emails you send to Smilegate, they'll say, tough luck. You don't get to play this anymore. So make sure you do not complete Eulogy for a Saint so you can continue to access one of the best farms in the game. I'll go into more detail as to how and why this is the best place to farm gold and charms in a video that'll be linked in the description called How to Farm Everything. So if you haven't checked out that video, please check that out. It's probably one of the most important videos I've ever made for new players. So I think with everything I just said there, that earns Eulogy for a Saint a place in the S tier with a bullet. Most important side story to unlock, in my opinion. Next, we're going to talk about the Bittersweet Festival. Now, in the Bittersweet Festival, you can pick up some level 78 gear. Woohoo. None of the gear is really worth keeping, guys. Every once in a while, somebody will show me a piece of 78 gear that rolled amazing, but pound for pound, it's almost always bad. You do pick up a couple of new backgrounds, which is nice, and you can get a limited pet, Idolia. Idolia, yeah, cute pet, I guess. If you want this pet on your team, you can unlock it here, and you'll pick up these golden cocoa cookies, which increase your hit chance and effect resistance of all allies by 5%. So you can use this to help get through evasion. Nobody really does. Look, none of this stuff is good. All these rewards are bad. It's a fun story. It's great to see Ainz shrimping for Tamarin. That's all fun. It's really fun to see the interaction. You can see it a little bit in the story back here with the 2 different Crozettes fighting over Jenna, who I think eventually gets so annoyed with their affection she becomes a nun. Fun, enjoyable story, guys. But do you do this one? Well, there's one reason, and only one reason why you may want to consider spending 900 skystones if you do not have the unit Tamarin. If you go over to the Heroes tab, click on Recruit and go into Connections, you can acquire Tamarin, but one of the mission requirements for Tamarin is that you purchase the festival story and you complete the festival story. So even though there is nothing of value really to this story, even though I would put it normally in the D tier, if you don't have Tamarin, this is an S tier story. But if you have Tamarin, this is a D tier story. So I'm a little bit kind of split on where to put it. So I'm going to put it up here, but this is just with the caveat that you don't have Tamarin on your account. If you do, I don't even think it's worth it for an imprint, guys. Just Tamarin doesn't need imprints, so I'm leaving it up here just for those of you who don't have Tam yet. No other reason. Now let's take a look at A Fairy Tale for a Snowy Day. A Fairy Tale for a Snowy Day is basically our introduction to young Senya and the original story between Alencia and young Senya. If you didn't cry reading the story of young Senya, it's probably because you didn't do Fairy Tale for a Snowy Day. This one is a heartwarming, tear-jerking story, and I love Kana flying through the tree, Kana dropping the presents, Kana being Santa Claus. That's great. In this story, you will get a bunch of kind of useless 78 gear, a nice festive wintry background if you're looking for a holiday background, and access to the artifact Nostalgic Music Box. This is really the reason to do this story. Other than it being one of the better stories that Smilegate's written, Nostalgic Music Box giving a 10% increase to defense and always granting a random buff. And the buffs are all good. Barrier, defense buff, immunity, continuous healing. There is no stinkers in here. The buffs are amazing. And if you've got a unit that you just don't know what to put on this unit for the mission, Nostalgic Music Box is a good one to put on there. Giving a 10% defense buff to the wearer, as well as random buffs to the team every single turn, especially units that take multiple turns. Fantastic artifact, one of the best free artifacts in the game. But that's it. A really good story and a really good artifact. It's the only real reason to do this. 900 skystones is a lot, so I'm going to put Fairy Tale for a Snowy Day in the B tier. It is a really good artifact, but I'm not sure it is so good that it's worthy of A tier representation at this point. Single Flame, Engulfing a Full Moon. This gives you a background into Kawazu and Kawana's story, and a little bit more information into the Spirit Lord Malekith. Also, every person on this planet wishes somebody would look at them the way that Rin is looking at Kawana. Wow. So, should you do this? Well, what do you get from this? Again, you get some more kind of lousy 78 gear. You do get this this cool little Flame Fox pet. So if you like the look of this pet, you want him on your team, this is how you get him. You get another background, the Deserted Plains of Flame background. One of the only stories that has a frame that comes with it. So if you like the look of this frame, you want it around your rep hero, go for it. And you get the Blazing Full Moon Trophy. When an enemy is defeated, recovers the health of all allies by 14%. Can only be activated once per turn. Effect does not stack with artifacts of the same name. This is actually an insane artifact for early game PvE. It lets you put this on any unit, and as you start killing things, you can heal up. This artifact is really, really nice for some Abyss floors. It can really help take the edge off of fights on Abyss floors where you're trying to stay alive. They're long, drawn-out floors with lots of adds that need to constantly be killed. So it does have some uses, but those uses are pretty niche and few and far between. One of the best things about this story is the music that comes with it. This story has some really, really good background music, and if you want to unlock that music for your jukebox to play while you're playing the game, that can be a reason to do it. But pound for pound, this does not have a lot to it, so into the C tier it goes. Next we have the Order of the Sword and the Lord of Summer. This is a pretty good story. We're going to go over a couple things about it. This gives us a little bit more lore and background into the story of Asmakalis, the Bug Empire. We get to meet insanely well-drawn units who need to be units. Smilegate, make Vera a unit. We need human Vera in our life. In fact, make all of the bugs human if they're going to look like this. I'm about it. Look, we're all down bad for a worm, and we're not ashamed to admit it. But what else do you get from this story? Alexa in a bathing suit. Alexa, what a glow up. Alexa looks so good in this bathing suit. You get the cute little chibi stamps to put on your profile card, and this is the only place to get Sirmia and Alexa. Some are Sirmia and some Alexa stamps. If you want to add those to your profile card, you get a really cool beach background and a nice little Temple of Asmakalis background. So more background packs. You pick up the official Levelun Beach Volleyball artifact, which, you know, doesn't really do anything. I mean, let's be real, 100 fixed damage, going up to I think 200 fixed damage at max. It's a little bit of nothing, and the crit chance of all allies by 5%. Look, it's a free artifact. Don't expect too much out of it. We're gone are the days of getting things like Midnight Bloom. But the important thing for this is required to do Alexa's specialty change. So if you want Summer Disciple Alexa, and not just regular Alexa, you want the specialty change, which is just a better Alexa, you need to do Order of the Sword and Lord of Summer. Now, Summer Alexa pops up occasionally, in PvE especially, as being very important. She's very high damage, she's usable in Rift sometimes, so it's nice to have her in your back pocket. Is she worth 900 skystones? Can you do things without her? Well, of course, she's a 3-star unit. Of course, you can do things without her, but getting that specialty change done opens up a lot of things for you. So, Lord of Summer, I'm putting her up in the A tier just because it lets you unlock Summer Alexa's specialty change, and that alone, I think, puts it on par with the Reingar's Chaotic Full Moon Festival and Midnight Bloom, which also has, you know, whereas Midnight Bloom is incredibly important artifact per PvE, Alexa, Summer Alexa, specialty change Alexa is a really important unit for PvE. Blood and Roses. You want to hear the vampire stories of Epic 7. You want to get into the background of Haste and the other vampire lords, the introduction of Melissa. This is where we first see her. Cromwell, the vampire lord, Haste's parentage, Melissa's parentage. You really enjoying the story of Dagger Sakar and a little bit of background on that and how all that came to be. This is the story for you. This is a really good story with really mediocre rewards, right? Out of this, you'll pick up the Death artifact. This is where we started getting tarot cards as artifacts, the Moon artifact, and the Tower artifact. Every once in a blue moon, one of these would pop up as useful, especially the Tower artifact had some uses in the original Ancient Inheritance for some solo clears, but they've all fallen away. None of them are really good anymore. You can pick up Intern Beth if you like having a Halloween-themed bat for your lobby or pet house, or to run with you on missions. This is where you can get that, and also some spooky background packs, which again, if you're going for a Halloween theme, it's nice seasonal stuff, but that's really it. There's nothing else that really you get from Blood and Roses. It's a good story with mediocre rewards. So just from a game playing standpoint, it's kind of D tier. There's really nothing in this that's worth getting. 7 Sweethearts, our first spring. Often hailed as Epic 7 the dating app. So this is a story where you basically get to have a Valentine's themed event centered around you basically trying to hook up with the different waifus of Epic 7. You literally play not as a specific unit in the game, you play as yourself pretty much. And you get to go around and meet Yuna, Dollmaker Pearl Horizon, and of course, Lucy. Now, you will also get a chance to woo and engage with Celine, but having played this story, I gotta tell you guys, I'm sorry, you're missing out. Celine's kind of got a thing for me. She sent me a selfie and everything, so you're, better luck with Spirit Eye Celine, but the rest of the waifus you can go ahead and engage with. Now, the rewards from this story, of course, are a couple of new backgrounds from Reingar. You can pick up Temperance, which looks like on paper is a really, really good artifact, granting a 10% barrier based on the holder to the ally with the lowest health. It's just free artificial HP every time you take a turn. As good as this looked, we all thought this would be broken, but there's just so many better artifacts in a modern era, it's not really worth that much. And you can also pick up Lucy. She's free. Just by doing the story, you get the free 3-star unit Lucy is the only way to get her. Now, Lucy serves one purpose only in the game currently, and that is as a restrict unit. She is one of the first units to have to restrict in her kit. But even at 100% restrict chance, her uses have pretty much gone away. Her main use was using Restrict in Banshee to make it accessible to newer players, and we now have so many ways to clear Banshee, up to and including just soloing it with new units, that Lucy doesn't really have much of a use anymore except for Collector. So this is really the only reason that you do the 7 Sweethearts event is, other than to shrimp for your favorite waifu and try to get the best results from the story so you can have a good date. The only reason to do this is to get Lucy on your account. And because she's just not that good, this unfortunately is going to go into the C tier. Adventures in a Winter Wonderland. This is a story, a Christmas story. This is a story centering on Elena with a little bit of lore and background on the Chandra prophecies. We also get to meet Fairy Tale Tenebria, who, as all Tenebrias are, is up to no good. This is a really nice story. It comes with one of the better artifacts for a free artifact, the Guardian Star's Blessing. After you use a basic skill, recovers the health of the ally except for the caster by an additional 4%. It's basically a crappy Celestine, but it can go on any unit. Unlike Celestine, which can only go on a Soul Weaver, this can go on any unit. So this is a decent little artifact for some PvE usages, especially for like Abyss floors where you're not allowed to bring Soul Weavers. It also comes with some crappy 88 gear, and it has these cool little lanterns. These lanterns were the original items that increase friendship. Now we have the friendship gifts, and these have kind of been obsoleted, but you can go in and get a pile of red, green, and blue friendship items to increase the friendships of your heroes. So it's got a nice artifact, and it's got a way to boost friendship. It also comes with a couple of backgrounds, including the Queen's Heart of Paradise. If you really like the Alice in Wonderland theming, you can have this for your background. So some friendship bonuses for your units, some nice background stuff, and a semi-decent artifact. That's really all you get out of your 900 skystones here. So because of the artifact, because of the friendship stuff, we'll slide it up into the C tier, or sorry, up into the B tier. Thieves Under the Light of the Full Moon. The story of Basar and Rin, where we get introduced to Mui and find out a little bit about Rin's history, her relationship with Basar, how and why she lost her tail and started masquerading as a human. It's a decent story. I think it is one of our first introductions to Apocalypse Ravi and her interactions with Basar. As for the rewards, other than some backgrounds, some crappy gear, and an artifact that is just pound for pound terrible, there's no reason to do Thieves Under the Light of the Full Moon, other than just the story and the lore, which, to be honest with you, you can go to YouTube and watch that. As fun as the story is, as much of a lore head as I am, Thieves Under the Light of the Full Moon offers you nothing for your 900 skystones, so we're going to slide it into the D tier. I wouldn't do it. The Holy Order of the Blue Cross and the Mysterious Island, also known as Nuns in Bikinis on the Beach with a Hungry Dragon Exploring a Cave. What a wild story this is. I mean, it's literally nuns in bikinis exploring a cave with a hungry dragon. It's a really, really fun story. Probably one of my favorite side stories of all time from a story standpoint. As for rewards, though, you do get some Molagora, which is nice. You do get a really cool beach background, which in the middle of January feels really nice. More crappy 78 gear, but what you also get is the Dapper Octo, another limited pet. It's the only way to get him, and you get the Super Duper Water Gun Shooter. One of the best support artifacts for a lot of PvE. Just by having this on your team, everybody on your team, including the holder, gets 5% attack and between 5 and 10% more effectiveness if you level it. The nice thing about this artifact is if you don't care about the effectiveness, you just want the attack, level 0 works just fine. You get the solid 5% attack. This is definitely worth doing. You may even want to consider keeping multiple copies of the water gun shooter so you can put that 5% into multiple teams. It doesn't stack, you can't put it on 2 units and get 10%, but it does let you to put it on multiple teams for situations where you need multiple teams built, like Guild Wars, like Advent. So this is a fantastic event for the story, for the artifact, and, you know, for the Dapper Octo. So we're going to put this at the front of the B tier. I think it is on par with Nostalgic Music Box, if not a little bit better. Very, very good event, very good story. One you should consider picking up. Song of the Sea, the earliest summer story we ever had. This is where we get our first introduction into skins. This is where we get the Sez skin, the Corinne on the beach skin. This is where they introduce us to Seaside Bologna, who in her day was the most broken thing to ever hit Epic 7. The story is long, but it's well worth it for the story. One nice thing about this is one of the first stories that just straight up gives you a unit. If you unlock this and do this, you will immediately get Corinne. Now, Corinne's a 4-star. Those of you who are brand new thinking, oh, dude, 900 Skystones, I get one of the best ice 4-star units in the game. True, but don't do it just for Corinne. Trust me, like, within 2 months of playing, you're going to have Corinnes coming out the wazoo. So maybe consider not spending 900 Skystones just to pick up Corinne as a unit. In addition to this, you'll get the Rainbow Scale artifact, which doesn't really do anything, with 10% effectiveness and effect resistance. I guess if you're trying to min-max some PvE, you might find some use for it. I've never used it in my life. Couple of nice underwater themed backgrounds if you like that, and some more. It's not even 78 gear, guys. This is so old. This is back in the days of 75 gear. So yeah, Other than getting access to Corinne, there is no reason to do this story other than backgrounds and lore. So we're going to put Song of the Deep Sea down here in the C tier, right beside where you can get Lucy as a free unit. Song of the Sea is a pretty low reward for the cost of entry. So the Roses May Bloom. This is Smaugate trying something different. This is a story-driven side story. It'll remind you a little bit of the Midnight Brawl event with Galililius, where there is less focus on fighting and more focus on choosing the right path. It's a choose-your-own-adventure story. Let's talk about the rewards. Though the story is great, the rewards are kind of lean. You do get the cool, beautiful rose garden background, and it does come with gifts, the Bologna gift, the Acades gift. You can select which gift you want. They're just crappy 78 gear, guys. It's just hidden beside some wrappers. It's nothing impressive or exciting. The best thing about this is Love Potion. Love Potion is basically Wish.com quality Shamadra staff. It increases the effective healing by 10% at max level, and you can have it on your team. You cannot stack it with Shamadra staff. When one or more healing effect is granted, only a strong supply, so Shamadra will overlap it. But again, if you're going into a fight where Soul Weavers aren't allowed, you can use this artifact to increase the passive healing of things like Lifesteal, the passive healing of things like, Champion Zerado's innate healing, or the passive healing of Bloodstone, things like that. It's a nice, very early game artifact. Thought it would have a lot more uses as Abyss floors were rolling out, but now that the Abyss has kind of been stagnant and stable for several years, it doesn't look like we're going to see much use for this artifact. As fun as the story is, and as much as I love choose-your-own-adventure stories from my days as a youth, I don't think the rewards of this are very good. Love Potion and a background and some low-end gear. I'm just going to slide it down into the C tier. I mean, the Love Potion alone is at least something. The D tier, there's nothing of value. That's at least something of value, even though it's low-end value. It's a C tier story for sure. Now let's talk about A Small Miracle. This is Smilegate's first Christmas story, with Santa Ras and Arky pulling the sleigh, right? This Christmas story came out in 2018. If you want to see what Epic 7 looked like in terms of art assets and story back in 2018, here you go. This is the story where you get the lore on Bloodblade Corinne. If you want to find out how Bloodblade Corinne got her sword and became Bloodblade Corinne, this is the story for you. Now, this story has got some fat rewards, because back in 2018, we got fat rewards. This is how old this is. Level 71 gear. Even 75 gear was too good for us back then. Don't even think about level 78 gear. Level 71 gear. Rolls terrible just for collector's purposes, but you get, the only story to have it, you will get 40 skin tickets doing this story. 40 skin tickets. And the reason is that when this story released the second time, they packaged it with the Aether skin, right? Charles didn't like the gift that Violet gave to Aether, so he gifts Aether with a dress from DN. So that's where you can get the Aether skin with DN's dress and stuff. They didn't package it in here, so instead, just doing the story, you can get the 4 skin tickets. You do see Aether's dress in the skin ticket itself, little Easter egg there. So you can use these 40 skin tickets in the skin shop to buy that skin if you like, or to keep towards eventually getting 60 skin tickets that you can use to buy a 6-star skin. Also in here, you will get Card of Small Miracles. Card of Small Miracles is basically an alternate version of the Super Duper Water Shooter. You do have to level it. At level 30, it will give you the full 5% increase to attack, but it also gives it to you for defense. So as Water Shooter gave you 5% unconditional attack, this one gives you 2.5 to 5 depending on level. And then Water Shooter gave you 10% effectiveness. This gives you 2.5 to 5% defense. So if you want to be stronger and more effective, use Water Shooter. If you want to be stronger and tankier, you can use Card of Small Miracles. And the nice thing is, effect does not stack with artifacts of the same name, but it does stack with artifacts of the same effect, meaning you can use Water Shooter and Card of Small Miracles at the same time to get a whopping 10% boost to attack to your entire team. So Card of Small Miracles and the skin tickets are really why you would do Small Miracle, and also to hear more about Bloodblade Corinne, am I right? So we're going to run Card of Small Miracles right up here beside the Order of the Blue Cross and the Warlord of Summer, because it's right up there with Super Duper Water Shooter. As far as importance, Water Shooter is a better artifact as a standalone, but because you get skin tickets along with Card of Small Miracle, I think it seats at a place solidly in the B tier. And the last story in this book of memories that we have is Shadow of Ravenwing Manor. Shadow of Ravenwing Manor is a Halloween side story. I like the Luna Easter egg sitting up here on the top of the building. This was a clue that many of us missed that heralded the rerun of Luna for Halloween. Fun, spooky Halloween story. As for the rewards, you get from this Spooky Soleil Tales, which I thought was going to be a more important artifact than it is, because it not only increased your hit chance, but also the effectiveness. This is a 5% chance to penetrate evasion, and with evasion starting to become a thing, I thought, hey, an AoE 5% evasion penetration, this maybe was going to be good, but it's just screaming into a Category 6 Hurricane with the evasion that's out there now, so you're not going to really find much, if any, use for spooky stories. The real reason to do this is this story is the only way to get the Chatty artifact, and the Chatty artifact is best in slot for Sylvan Sage Vivian. You will want to max it out because it is a whale artifact. You need all of them at plus 30 to get the 100% chance to grant a barrier, and that is key in keeping your Sylvan Sage Vivian alive. It's also usable on some other mages. It was a tech on Roy Mustang for a short period of time. It's widely considered best in slot for Sylvan Sage Vivian. So if you get Sylvan Sage Vivian, this story shoots to the top of your list for things to do. But without Sylvan Sage Vivian, this artifact doesn't really do that much for you yet. It's an investment artifact. It's also the place where you can pick up Cirilla. And, man, I would love to be trusted the way Cirilla trusts that bra strap. So if you like Cirilla, and I don't know how you couldn't, this is how you get her, and this is the only way to get her. She's not in the gacha, you gotta do the story. So because you get a top tier artifact for a ML5 unit, and because you get all of this, we're gonna put the Shadow of Ravenwing Manor. So here's the thing. It's an A tier for that artifact if you have Sylvan Sage Vivian. If you don't have Sylvan Sage Vivian, I think it's kind of a C tier, right? It's got some nice stuff in it, but it's more of an investment. But we're going to put it up in the A tier because, much like I'm assuming you don't have Tamarin, here I'm assuming you do have Sylvan Sage Vivian and you want Chatty, right? If you already have Tamarin, this drops, and if you don't have Sylvan Sage Vivian yet, this drops. But that's why those are elevated a little high. So this is our tier list. I hope this helps you guys out. I hope it helps you decide whether or not you should spend 900 skystones, because you certainly don't want to unlock all of these. You just want to unlock the ones that are important to you. If you unlock all of these, you're talking about over 10,000 skystones spent. You're talking about over $350 spent on this game just to unlock these stories in equivalent Smilegate money. If you have any questions, ask them in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you guys have a great rest of your day.